ladies and gentlemen. My name is Specialist McGee. Today I'm going to be giving you a quick little class over leadership styles. It is an unclassified brief, so I do highly suggest taking notes. If you do find yourself starting to feel a little sleepy, please don't fall asleep during my class. Just simply stand up, go to the back of the class, and then carry on the rest of the day as needed. Like I said, this is an unclassified brief, so please do take notes. I highly encourage it. And please hold all questions till the end. I will be going over a lot of information. Just jot down whatever questions you have, and then at the end I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So go ahead and start this off. Right now, this is the agenda for today. We're going to have a little introduction, go over what are some leadership styles, different types of leadership: transactional, transformational, servant leadership, autocratic, and followership. And then, like I said, we will be saving all questions towards the end. All right, what are leadership styles? Does anyone want to take a guess at what a leadership style is without reading the slide, of course? Nobody? All right, cool. All right, leadership styles come in all shapes and sizes, some good, some bad, some give or take sometimes. Sometimes you take a little bit of good from a leader, you take a little bit of bad. You try to discard the bad, that yin and yang thing. Everything is got its flaws, it has its, it's good, it's bad. But as we always say, everything kind of has to come together as a team, right? Everything has to make that end goal be the same, mission accomplishment. Everyone is always constantly trying to make sure that the unit as a whole gets that mission accomplishment. No matter what, we have to work together as a team. Also, making sure that you are not being too rigid. You know how they say, she's the one that broke the mold, or he's the one that broke the mold. You don't want to have a specific mold. Everyone is a little bit different. Everyone's going to learn different ways. Everyone's going to be taught different ways. So you need to keep that in mind with your subordinates. Hey, maybe that person's very good at leading by example or learning by example, and that person's, it's just, you have to tell them what to do, They're still in that boot camp mode, and you just got to tell them what to do, All right, so that's going to go ahead and take me into the next portion, which is starting to go into what the different leadership styles are. So we have transactional, transformational, servant leadership, autocratic, and followership. First, I'm going to go into transactional, something that we're all very familiar with, and that is a telling style of leadership. The most common form that you're going to see of transactional is your drill instructors or your drill sergeants, basically telling you, hey, go do this. If you don't do this, you're going to get smoked. It is a very straightforward way of leadership. So, for another example, your dog, right, or your pet, you teach them, hey, don't poop on the floor. If they poop on the floor, they get their nose rubbed in it and they get sent outside. It is an immediate punishment to lack of meeting the standards. So in boot camp, you get told, hey, make sure you leave your foot locker locked, right? What happens if you leave your foot locker unlocked? Get your stuff thrown, right? It is a very, very, very simple form of leadership, right? You guys all tracking? Staying with me? Good. All right. What I mean by unconscious competence as the end goal is you do not have to think about it. You just simply are told, do this, and your brain does not have to process, well, drill sergeant told me to do this, so I gotta do this. No, unconscious competence means that without your body having to process it is muscle memory. So if I tell you push left, without second guessing, you push left. That is what our end goal is with transactional leadership. Which brings us into transformational leadership, which is commonly known as leading by example. So for me and my squad, whenever I tell my soldiers, hey, follow me, I physically and literally mean that. I mean follow me. I mean you are going to be right behind me every step of the way. I will never tell any of my guys to rush a hill that I would not rush myself. I quite commonly say do as I do instead of do as I say, because sometimes I say the right things or I say the wrong things and I do the right things. Personally, I'm a lead by example kind of soldier and kind of man. I feel like you need to be there with your soldiers, doing everything every step of the way with them. One of the perks of transformational is it is quite flexible. It does not matter what the situation is, that I can see, or what the type of situation is that I am in, I can find a way to lead my subordinates through that situation through transformational leadership. Because any single situation, whether we're on the battlefield, whether we're in the field, or whether we're in a simple office learning situation, I can find a example of leadership out of almost any situation. So that's going to take me into our next leadership, which, as you might have guessed, is servant leadership. Servant leadership is the most common form of leadership in the Army today. What we have is a NCO that is looking to mold his or her squad or section to be as perfect as they can be for the unit's needs. So what I mean by that is, say the unit is about to deploy to Afghanistan, right? Afghanistan is very mountainous for those that have been there. So would it behoove a leader, a squad leader, to train his or her soldiers on flat ground, or try to take his or her soldiers and train them in climbing elevation, right? Running on flat ground is only beneficial if your battlefield is on flat ground. So, or if your unit leader, your battalion commander say you're in a mechanized unit, and they say, we need to be able to have our tracks PMCS'd within 2 hours. So you take your squad out there and you practice PMCSing your vehicles in under 2 hours to make sure that you form your section, your squad, to the unit tasks. And it has been written that all effective NCOs are servant leaders because they see the task at hand, they see the needs of their unit and of the Army, and they decide to mold their soldiers to be better subordinates and to go for that end goal, which is that of the Army or of the unit. However, servant leadership does require a lot of trust between the subordinates and that unit leader, mainly because they're 100% being molded, being crafted, being trained by that unit leader. It takes time, but sometimes time is of the essence, and having those strong, solid, foundations for these servant leaders pays off in the long run. So, following servant leadership, we're going to talk about the autocratic form of leadership, which is sometimes one of the most difficult form of leaderships because it is such a dire life and death situation. You have to come up with a decision right now, or that leader has to be the bad guy sometimes and make a decision whenever it comes to a stalemate. So one example I like to bring out is Lieutenant Michael P. Murphy, Navy SEAL, Medal of Honor recipient, who had to make a very rough decision whenever his team could not come to a decision, and also he had to come to a decision in life and death situations immediately. He came with the decision of, this is what we are going to do, and this is how we have to do it right now, because time was not of the essence. They had to make a decision right then, and his team could not come up with common ground or a common decision to figure out what to do with the Afghanis that they ran into on their reconnaissance mission. Basically, autocratic can be as simple as a squad leader making the decision to, hey, we're going to push left, we have a hasty ambush left, we need to push through it, or we don't have enough guys, we need to break contact, because that split decision could be the difference between leading his squad into a far outnumbered attack and end up losing everyone in his squad, or it could mean, pushing through and killing the enemy. All right, and coming up to our last form of leadership. I hate technology. Coming up to our last form of leadership is commonly not known as a form of leadership, but because it is quite commonly misconstrued as followership. However, followership is a portion of one of the types of leadership, because one must be a good follower to be a good leader. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's awfully easy. All I have to do is follow you. It's easy to follow. It's not easy to be the point man or blaze a trail. It's easy to just keep your head down and walk and just, keep going, keep following. But that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at being a good follower. Someone that is not just walking with their head down, moseying. Someone that's up, looking around, weapon at the ready, 5s and 25s, checking their rear, metaphorically, of course. But someone who is being a good follower. They know what their squad leader needs before it even comes to them. Someone that goes above and beyond what they're told. So if you're the squad leader, or you have your squad leader, right? And your squad leader says, hey, we need to have these trucks PMCS'd by 1400. You know that you need to at least be at the motor pool several hours prior to that to make sure that your vehicles can be PMCS'd in the timely manner. You know what you need to have to PMCS them. All right, we need pens, papers, PMCS sheets. We need, stuff to check the fluids. You know what you need to have to get the mission accomplished. You shouldn't have to have you shouldn't have to hold your squad leader's hand the whole step of the way. If you want to become a good leader, you need to start practicing being a good follower. So, as I said, all great leaders were great followers. They put input into decisions. They help their leaders be those good leaders, which brings me into my conclusion and my summary for today. Today, I talked about what are some leadership styles, some types of leadership: transactional, transformational, servant leadership, autocratic leadership, and followership, which will bring me into any questions. Now is your time to ask. What is my favorite example of leadership? Personally, mine is transformational, because I am a do by example type of soldier. That's how I always have been. That's how I always will be. I will always be there with my guys or girls, and I will always be with them toe to toe, facing the enemy, or writing an essay, doing something. I will never leave them behind. I never have. I never will. That's just who I am. I have to be a lead by an example kind of person. All right. No other questions? That concludes my class. Give me 5-10 minutes. All right. Take 5-10 minutes. Use the latrine. Get a drink of water. Be back in here in 10 minutes.